You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy long Labor Day weekend. It is September 6th, 2021. We are T-minus 3 days away from the beginning of the 2021 NFL season. And do I got a video for you guys today? If you have not already figured it out, we are doing a 32-team power ranking for week 1. This is where I feel the teams stand at the start of the season. What I plan on doing with this is that I'm going to make it a series where I think every Tuesday, even though I'm uploading this on a Monday today, every Tuesday we are going to be uploading a new power rankings video where I'll reorganize the teams based off of how they've been faring going through week to week. So my plan is that this list is going to change starting from today up until next Tuesday, and then every Tuesday after that. We'll wait for the entire week's games to be played through, and I'll have it up for you guys, hopefully every Tuesday. Now, to get things rolling, first things first, I will show you guys basically what we're looking at as far as the list is going to kind of be displayed. So up here to my left, I'm going to be tossed into the bottom left-hand corner of your screen now. You are going to see a bunch of different numbers. Basically, what I'm going to go through here is I have everything broken down into 4 categories. I have like the teams that I either think have a lot to work on, don't expect to be contenders, and have a lot to prove kind of group. So that's going to be 32 through 21. Then I have the next 10 after that, where it's going to be kind of like the potential playoff contenders, have some stuff to prove, maybe have slipped, things like that. And then the next 2 groups after that will be the 10 through 6 and then 5 through 1. So let's get the show started, shall we? With the first group, this is going to be numbers 32 through 21. I'm not going to go into super in-depth detail with everything, otherwise I'd be here for like an hour explaining my decision on every single team, but I'll give you guys a rough idea. The first 12 teams should be up on the screen for you now. Now, to knock them out and get them out of the way, 32 and 31, the Texans and Lions, essentially in full-blown rebuild mode. The only reason I have the Lions at 31 and not 32 as opposed to the Texans is because the Lions at least have a quarterback who has been to the Super Bowl in Jared Goff. The Texans are going to be starting Tyrod Taylor this Sunday, so there's that. That's the reason I have the Texans at 32 and Lions at 31. Now, when you're looking at the rest of the list here, we have the Jets at 30, Jaguars 29, and then you can kind of see the list yourself here. If you're listening at home, we have Jaguars at 29, Raiders 28, Eagles 27, Panthers 26, Bengals 25, Falcons 24, Saints 23, Chargers 22, and Broncos at 21. What you'll notice is there's a lot of like teams within the same division that I have kind of paired one right after the other, and that's by design because I had a hard time kind of picking a real clear like leader of those 2 teams. So like if you look at how I have this set up here, if you're looking at like the Chargers and the Broncos, they're literally 20, 22, and 21. And then right behind them, the Saints and the Falcons. Falcons are at 24, Saints are at 23. So as for the Jets, Jaguars, Raiders, the Jets and Jaguars pretty much completely starting over. They were picking first in the draft for a reason. They're, working with new head coaches, new systems, and things like that. But they do have what sounds like quarterbacks of the future for them. A lot of high praise coming in for both Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. So a lot to be hopeful about, but I don't expect them to just be fighting for a playoff spot right off the rip. This will be a rebuilding year for them. Looking at the Raiders, the Eagles, the Panthers, and the Bengals. Now, pretty much all 3 of these teams, except for the Raiders, are working with a new quarterback. Joe Burrow did play 11 weeks last year for the Bengals, and that's why they are the highest of that 4 group there. He did get lost week 11, and then from there they were just starting in whoever they could to kind of fill the the spot until they were able to get him back this year. So almost kind of like starting it new. They did get half a season, which is why I have them ranked above the rest. Jalen Hurts, obviously on the Eagles, did have some time to play on the team last year, but they're essentially starting over with him at the quarterback position, now him being the week 1 starter for the team. And then the Panthers, and when you look at them, Sam Darnold, obviously, a lot to be desired from the team. This is a team that could have been a lot better this year, but I think with Sam Darnold in a new system, we're going to have to kind of wait to see the full-blown results. They did pick up his 5th-year option, so they do have him locked up for a couple of years to kind of see how he does. I think this will be a good first year for him to kind of learn and grow in this system, and from there, we'll probably see more true results of what Sam Darnold will be going into the following season. Now, the Raiders, the reason I have them clonked down all the way at number 28 is because there's a lot going on there. I have kind of criticized them for this. The pairing of Mike Mayock and John Gruden has been suspect in my opinion. I think they're working now on year 5 of this whole rebuild with the team. The defense has been very lackluster. You have Derek Carr, so there is some stability at the quarterback position. Obviously, Josh Jacobs as well, and Henry Ruggs at wide receiver. And then, of course, the dominant Darren Waller at tight end. So there's a lot to like about the offense, but the defense is a really big question mark. So much so that and by they, I mean the front office, reached out to Chicago to see if they could do a tradesies backsies for Khalil Mack, and obviously had the door slammed in their faces on the way out. So, it's tough, but I just don't think that Gruden and Mayock are the answer. At this point, I would have expected the team to have turned around and things really have be rolling at this point for them, especially because of how highly touted Mayock was as a draft analyst, and then John Gruden, obviously legendary head coach prior when he first coached through the NFL, and now his second go around, obviously not looking as hot. So I have them sitting at the bottom. This is not to say that they're not going to do better than what I expect here, but there's just a lot of question marks on that team where you have such great talent on offense, and then you have a talentless defense, in my opinion, where there's a few bright spots, don't get me wrong, but there's just a lot to be desired from this Las Vegas team, and I don't really know where they're going at this point. Now, going from 24 to 21 here, you have the Falcons at 24, Saints at 23. Why do I have them there? I think that, there's been a big roster turnover. Obviously, the Falcons losing Julio Jones, and then the defense in Atlanta with a new head coach. There's a lot to look at there and to kind of really consider as far as why I have them so low ranked on the list. There's a strong possibility that this team ends up being much higher in the higher teens, maybe even 12, 11, 10 spot, maybe through the year if everything goes well for them. But there is a lot to look at. You have Kyle Pitts, who, in my opinion, is one of the most sure picks in the draft this year, bringing kind of a replacement presence for Julio Jones being lost in the offseason. But again, a lot of question marks, new head coach, a new system and everything like that. There can be bumps in the road. I have the Saints right ahead of them because they're obviously starting over with Jameis Winston, and that is probably one of the biggest question marks for this NFC South division. Is he going to play well, or is he going to be the Jameis Winston throwing 30 interceptions but throwing for 5,000 yards and 30 interceptions as well? That's kind of what we're going to have to see here. The Saints also lost a lot in the draft, but I think that having the same head coach and essentially you're just plugging Jameis Winston into the spot of Drew Brees and banking on his ability to throw the ball further, if everything goes well, I expect this team to outperform Atlanta at least slightly. That's if Atlanta bombs out and then everything goes well for the Saints. And that's why I have a hard time really kind of picking one or the other, and why I have them kind of clamped right next to each other in my rankings. The same kind of idea goes for the Chargers and the Broncos, but more so that the Broncos have such a dominant defense, but they don't have a quarterback, at least at this moment. They have Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, he is starting. However, I just don't know if he's going to be the answer. A lot of people wanted Drew. It's the Denver fan base is super split. So a lot of question marks there at the quarterback position. You do have a great defense on the team, though, which is why I have them edging out the Chargers, is mainly for the defensive side of the football. They have some good skill players there. Obviously, Melvin Gordon at running back, Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, and then Noah Fant at tight end. There's a lot to like. Offensive line will be something we have to keep an eye on, as if they can perform to the standard that the offensive line in Denver should perform to, this could be a really good team. It ultimately boils down, though, to quarterback play. The defense is contender ready for the playoffs. It's just a matter of, can Teddy Bridgewater be the quarterback that this Denver Broncos team needs to get to the playoffs? For the Chargers, the reason I have them lagging right behind is because obviously, they have Justin Herbert. In my opinion, I think he's a stud. He's going to be great. This is a guy that I think is going to be playing 10-plus years in the league at a high caliber level. That's where I think about him. The defense, though, I don't think is as good as what Denver has. And when you're looking at the Denver Broncos, I think they just really need a quarterback. The Chargers, it's there's a few pieces on defense. They're getting some players back this year. Derwin James is a guy that comes to mind who has missed a lot of time the last couple of years. Everyone over there is excited to see him play. But the real question is this defense, playoff ready? I don't know. Obviously, they have 17 weeks to find out, but at this moment, I don't know, and that's kind of where I'm sitting at with that. And then on top of that, they do have some talent at wide receiver and at the running back position, but I don't know if it's as deep as what Denver is fielding. Again, they have the quarterback who hopefully, his second year, Herbert, is going to be able to elevate the team around him and make them play better than the sum of their parts. But I think that really, really strong defense that Denver has edges them out. And this is where my bottom, 32 through 21 teams are ranked. The next group that I have coming up on here, and feel free to take a pause if you need to for a second. I'm going to sip some water real fast. So, next group on my list here, 20 through 11. I'll go ahead and pull this up for you guys here. At number 20, I have Chicago. Number 19 is Dallas. And then from there, you're looking at 18 Giants, 17 Patriots, 16 is Washington football team. At 15, I have the 49ers. 14 is the Steelers. Cardinals are at 13, Dolphins at 12, and then the Vikings at 11. So let's talk about the bottom half of this group here, those bottom 5 teams out of the 10 here. The Bears, defense is still good. It's not as good as it was a couple of years ago, and I think that's unfortunate. Chicago has kind of wasted a championship caliber defense in a sense, dealing with the whole Mitch Trubisky saga and also kind of the questionable coaching of Matt Nagy. I know that there are some Bears fans that love him and some Bears fans that are ready to see him go. I think this is kind of like the prove it year for Nagy, and the way I see it is Andy Dalton's serviceable. I think he's a good quarterback. Good quarterback. That's about as far as his ceiling goes. I don't know if he's going to take this team to the promised land. We'll have to see. But, if lightning strikes in a bottle with Justin Fields, I think this team is better off with Fields in the long run. And honestly, I think at some point during the season, we are going to see him play. I don't know how long Chicago plans to try to hold him back, but I really think that, and by hold him back, I just mean keep him from starting, not like holding him back as a player. But, I think that, this is a good spot to put them. They were a playoff contender last year, and this is like a team where if all goes well, they could sneak back into the playoffs at like a number 7 seed again. So just kind of, I don't know. I'm not really sold on them making the playoffs this year. They kind of squeaked in last year, and I think that there a lot of teams in the NFC are going to be better this year, so I think it's going to be harder for them to make it into that top 7 spot. Now, Cowboys, Giants, and then we'll skip the Patriots for a quick second here and talk Washington football team. So Cowboys at 19, Giants at 18, Washington at 16. I think this is a really close division for these 3 teams. Again, I put the Eagles really low at 27. There's a lot that we're going to have to see from them this year for me to consider them to be any higher. I don't think that they're going to be contending for the playoffs, but these 3 teams, if all goes well for that specific team, can win the division. Washington football team, I think that they have the best defense of the 3 teams that I've just listed here. They brought in some good skill positional players as well this offseason, and there's just a lot to be excited about over there. Ron Rivera has done a great job flipping the direction of this team around, which is crazy because last year this team looked like it was going to be an absolute mess. Now, the reason I have them ranked the highest, again, is the defense. When you look at the Giants, they're really banking on this being the big year for Daniel Jones where he finally makes the big leap. Saquon Barkley is expected to play this Sunday, so that's big for them as well. The real question here is this offensive line. Can they protect Jones? And if they can't, can Daniel Jones be able to succeed on this team? The Giants have a really good defense that, in my opinion, only got better through the offseason, and now it's just a matter of, is DJ going to be the guy? This is really what it boils down to. I think that at this point, we know what we're getting with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and if everything is going well around him, he can play really well. It's just hopefully that for him in Washington, he doesn't end up throwing 4 interceptions in a game. But I think that the Washington football team edges them out a little bit. For the Cowboys, exciting they have Dak Prescott back. They did just lose an offensive lineman to COVID for this Thursday season opener, which sucks for them. Zach Martin's going to be out for that game. I think that might hurt them playing against the Buccaneers. But as far as through the entire season goes, the way I'm looking at this team is the defense is really the big prove-it thing for them. A lot to be desired from the defense last year. I think the defense got better. Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox looked really good in the preseason, so their linebacking corps seems to be sorted out, and they still have a lot of other good guys. Leighton Vander Esch, if he can stay healthy, is great. Same with Jalen Smith. So a lot to be excited about. It's just a matter of I need to see the results from this team in regular season action, which is why I have them the lowest. I think that the Cowboys, out of all three of these teams, have the highest upside, but their defense really holds them back. They were 2-3 last year despite Dak Prescott lighting it up. And it wasn't because of the offense, it was because of that defense. So it's really going to boil down to that. And them being the third out of these three teams is because defense wins championships no matter what. We saw that in the Super Bowl. Yes, the Buccaneers offense was lighting it up, but that defense shut down one of the more dominant offenses we've ever seen in the league. Now, the Patriots, they're kind of sandwiched in here at number 17. I think this is a good spot for them. Middle of the road. They were 7-9 last year. This is a team that 8-9, 9-8, maybe 10-7 is a realistic possibility if all goes well for them. I kind of expect them somewhere in there where they either are going to just miss the playoffs or they're going to sneak in at number 7. I don't know if they're going to win their division. You got Miami, who's getting really good and getting hot at the right time. It's just a matter of, is Tua going to be the guy? Is he going to make a leap this year for them? But, Mack Jones is exciting. I think he fits the offense really well. I think he's kind of like the quarterback that Bill Belichick really wants. So he's excited about that. Hence the reason he's going to be starting. This defense in New England was really good. I mean, it was pretty good last year, but it was even better the year prior. Obviously, Stephon Gilmore's gone for 6 weeks, so that'll be something to look at. But I think there's enough DB depth over there in New England that they can mitigate that loss for the time that he's gone. And then from there, if the defense plays really well, doesn't put a ton of pressure on the offense, Mack Jones can succeed as a rookie here, in my opinion. He's very accurate. He's a good decision maker, smart. We've been hearing all the praises from him out of New England. This is a team with really high upside, and I think, I would be shocked if they do any worse than they did last year. This is a better team than last year. They should improve. Now, for the top half of this list, the other 5 teams here, again, 49ers at 15 and Steelers at 14. The Steelers dropped off last year, and not a whole bunch has changed for them. Obviously, they added some pieces in the draft, and not a ton going on in free agency. They brought back Roethlisberger, and I think that's really the X factor for this team. The defensive depth issues really showed when they lost a lot of players late in the season. They slipped and lost 4 of their last 5 games last year after starting the season 11-0. So, can Ben Roethlisberger hang on? If this defense sustains any big injuries again, losing somebody like TJ Watt for a few games, can they handle that? This is a team that, at the 14 spot, I have them kind of right on the cusp of playoffs. They are either going to make it or just miss it, in my opinion. I'm very curious to see how long Roethlisberger makes it through this season. I really hope his arm can hold up. Obviously, a big kind of thing that we won't really know until about the midpoint and later half of the season. 49ers at 15. It boils down to the quarterback play, and if this defense is back to what they were a couple of years ago, they've lost some players, but they've drafted some players. So, they've kind of, flip-flopped and mitigated losses there. They just signed Josh Norman to add some depth to the cornerback room, and, this is an offense that is going to pound the rock because, everyone seems to believe that Jimmy Garoppolo he's not going to be the quarterback throwing 30, 35, 40 times in a game, and I think that, Kyle Shanahan doesn't want that either. And the quarterback controversy that they claim isn't there, I think might rear its ugly head. Whether it causes issues or not for San Francisco, that's going to be something we'll have to keep an eye on. But ultimately, at some point in this season, I firmly believe that Trey Lance is going to be the starter. And I think he's raw. He showed some accuracy issues, but he also showed some really high upside going through the preseason. This team will go as far as Trey Lance takes it, in my opinion. I just don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy anymore. The injury stuff is a real concern. And yeah, he was in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but that was more on the back of the defense and that dominant run game they had than it was Jimmy G. Now, for the Cardinals, Dolphins, and Vikings, 13, 12, and 11 in that order, respectively. Cardinals are a team that I think they got better defensively. They have Chandler Jones paired up with J.J. Watt this year. This is a defense that should be really good, and they just continue to draft defense and draft some really good athletic players at that. And with the way the NFL's, turning, you need athletes playing over there on the defensive side of the football. I'm a big fan of Kyler Murray. They have now DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Christian Kirksey. There is a lot to be excited about over there. If all goes well for them, I think this is a team that should be winning 10 games or more. And if they don't, that's kind of a letdown, the way that Arizona is kind of set up at this point. I expect a lot from them. I'm excited to see what they do. The Dolphins boils down to Tua. This defense has really started to shine. star cornerback Xavier Howard, who has not gotten the respect he deserves, despite the fact that he has like 17 interceptions in the last 3 years, and he missed a year in the middle of all that, is absurd. And then on top of that, I mean, there's just so much to like about that defense, dude. Jerome Baker, Byron Jones, you cannot go wrong with that defense right now. Skill-wise, on the offensive side of the football, Gesicki's there. I expect him to continue to develop. He's been a pretty solid tight end at this point in his career, and I think if he continues to produce, you have Devontae Parker over there as well, a solid wide receiver group. The running game is a big question, and I don't know about the offensive line as much as I probably should, but anyone in the comment section below, please let me know what you think on that one. But, that'll be probably the big deciding factors, is how well can this team run the football and how well can this offensive line protect Tua and give him the time to be confident enough to chuck the football down the field like he didn't really do as much his first year there. The Vikings at number 11. This is a team that, if everything goes well, again, should be a very dominant team and probably higher than where I have them ranked on this list. But their defensive woes last year are going to be the reason I hold them back out of the top 10 and keep them at the number 11 spot. I think that if this defense is put together well and they end up being better than last season, the offense is star-studded. You have, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, and then you have a very solid, good, great, whatever you want to call the quarterback situation over there. I'll leave that up to you Vikings fans, because I know you guys are a little bit torn on Kirk Cousins, but this is a team that can really go far if everything goes well, and the offensive side of the football is loaded, and I expect a lot from them. Now, getting into the top 10, I broke it down into two groups. We have the 10 through 6, and then the 5 through 1. Let's talk about the top 10 through 6. At number 10, I have the Indianapolis Colts. Maybe a little bit of the fan in me is putting them higher than they should be, or this is right where I think that they'll end up being come season's end. The way I see this for Indianapolis is it boils down to Carson Wentz. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. I'm just going to say at least top 10 defenses in the league. Wide receiver core is probably the question mark there. Jonathan Taylor looks great for us, and I'm excited for this team. Hopefully Carson Wentz produces. He's supposed to be set to play for week 1. Hopefully he produces. If he ends up recapturing MVP form, this is a top 5 team. However, it's been a while since that MVP caliber season for Carson Wentz, and I'm trying to be realistic about it. This is, the 10 is, I'm comfortable because if everything goes right, they could be higher. If not everything's going right and they're doing fine, this is around where I see them, maybe like 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. But at 10 to start the season, I'm pretty comfortable with. I feel like I'll have a much clearer picture going through this first week, how well Carson Wentz handles the first week of the NFL season as an Indianapolis Colt. At number 9, Seattle Seahawks. This is a team that defensively kind of let up going through the second half of the season. Offensively, they were really doing well, and then the whole let Russ cook thing started going on, and honestly, the offense kind of took a step back. I expect, Pete Carroll has led his team to the playoffs countless times since he's taken over for them. And, I think he's taken some teams that weren't as good as they were and made them better as a head coach. You still obviously have Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, Rocket Lockett. There's so much to like about the offense on that football team. The offensive line will be the big question mark. That was a big topic of discussion going through. And this defense is obviously not the Legion of Boom it was a handful of years ago, but still a solid unit in my opinion. A lot to work on, but if this defense takes another step back, this team's in trouble, and I think will really slip from here. But I have a feeling that they will be at least in the running and somewhere in that top 12 to 8 range of the league by the end of season. Number 8, I have the Titans. The addition of Julio Jones has really skyrocketed their stock, in my opinion. I expect this team to continue to be a dominating force in the AFC South and in the AFC in general. I have them a couple of positions ahead of the Indianapolis Colts for a reason. You cannot deny the offensive consistency that this team has had. The offensive line has been very good. You have Ryan Tannehill, who's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league since he started for the Tennessee Titans. You have Julio Jones. You have A.J. Brown. You have Derrick Henry, the 2-time back-to-back rushing king. I mean, that offense looks great. The defense, can the pass rush make some pressure? That was probably the biggest criticism for them last year was, the issue of pressuring the quarterback. Can they get better at that? If this defense can make the leap it needs to, this is a playoff team, and this is a team that has a real shot at shooting at the Super Bowl this year. Rams at number 7. The addition of Matthew Stafford puts them right into near Super Bowl conversation at this point. That defense, best in the league last year, didn't really lose a ton. They did lose John Johnson, which is going to hurt. So that'll probably be the biggest loss for the defense there. But I mean, you still have Aaron Donald, best at his position and probably best football player in the league. And then you have the number 1 or 2 cornerback, depending on what side of the argument you are. In Jalen Ramsey, there is so much talent on that defense. The offense now has a quarterback who, in my opinion, has not gotten the love and appreciation he deserves because he's played for the Detroit Lions, and I think will surprise a lot of people with how well he plays this year. And I think that Matthew Stafford has potential to be a top 5 quarterback this year. So we'll see how that shakes out. Maybe I eat my words, maybe I don't, but I expect a lot from the Rams. And then coming in at that number 6 spot, the Baltimore Ravens. If you've watched the show, I'm a big supporter of Lamar Jackson. The Baltimore Ravens committed this offseason to making him a better passer, putting him under center more, playing a more traditional role. He spent a lot of his first few years out of the shotgun, so they want him to get under center more so they can disguise more things and, play a more traditional style offense. I think Lamar Jackson kind of has a chip on his shoulder too, where he wants to prove, he is a passer. I hate the stupid thing that's going around the league right now and what fans are saying about him being a running back. He is a quarterback. He has thrown the football really well. His touchdown totals speak for themselves. Obviously he runs. He's athletic. Nobody was knocking Michael Vick about this. And I think that Lamar Jackson's a better passer than Michael Vick was. So, I don't understand where it's all coming from. I expect a lot from the Ravens. They were committed to getting him wide receivers. The defense should be as good, if not better, this year than it was last year. Ravens at number 6. They're vying for a Super Bowl shot this year, again, as they have been the last few years. Let's see where it goes. Now, for those of you that know the 5 teams that are remaining on this list, I'm sure you're very curious to see where they all go. Well, here they are. At number 5, I have the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers is the X factor here. I don't know if the defense got better. I don't think it got worse. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. They drafted Stokes, the cornerback, in the first round instead of going after a skill position for Aaron Rodgers. We've seen the disaster of an offseason that Green Bay has had. If all goes well, they're probably back in the NFC Championship again. Aaron Rodgers was not the problem for this team. The offense was not the problem. It's the defense. Rodgers had a great NFC Championship game. It was that defense. I know that people are shouting to the rooftops if the Packers had, more skill position players. They have Aaron Jones. They have Devontae Adams. They did take Amari Rodgers from Clemson, who I think if he hooks up with Aaron Rodgers could be a really good addition to the team. And then on top of that, he got a guy in Randall Cobb that he wanted from the team. So we'll have to see. I don't think the offense is the issue. The defense has been the real issue over in Green Bay, despite, the calling for getting Aaron Rodgers an offensive weapon he deserves. He has Devontae Adams. Robert Tonyan was great with him last year. Aaron Jones is obviously there. The offensive line is, one of the best in the league when everyone's healthy. Obviously, David Bakhtiari, he's going to be out for a while, but this is a really good team offensively. The defense has been the problem over there in Green Bay. And I might even be eating my own words here based off some things I've said in the offseason, but when you really sit down and look at it, the defense has been the problem for Green Bay. Hopefully them going defense in the draft early helps with that issue. We'll have to see where it goes, but I expect the Packers to be a contender for the Super Bowl this year, probably in the NFC Championship game. Browns at number 4. This is a team that I think has finally arrived. I think that for the last 3 or 4 years, everyone's been calling the Browns to the Super Bowl because they want to be the ones, since Baker Mayfield arrived, to be the ones to call their little Cinderella story. I think the Browns have finally arrived. You can say what you want about them not being able to beat the Chiefs in the divisional round last year. I think that with the addition of Odell Beckham returning, as long as he stays healthy, this offense should only be better. Baker Mayfield, the first time in his career that he's in a system for more than 1 year, this is his second year in the system he's in now, I only expect growth. Baker Mayfield does not get a lot of credit for what he's done as a quarterback for the Browns, and maybe it's because the Browns are the Browns and that's how people look at them. Times change, man. The Browns are in the divisional for a reason. They completely stomped out Pittsburgh in that first wild card game. So, you know what? In my opinion, the Browns have arrived. Will they win a Super Bowl this year? I don't know, but I expect them to be vying for a shot in the AFC Championship this year. The Bills at number 3, AFC finalists. They didn't make it to the Super Bowl. They did improve their pass rush from what it sounds like. And from what I've seen, I'm excited to see how that goes because the two biggest criticisms for this team were, one, they were not running the ball effectively, and two, they could not get to the quarterback. They have some really good DBs. They got some good linebackers. Edge rush was really the big, or just like pressure in that front seven in general was probably the biggest issue there. I'm very curious to see how they start running the football this year. They were relying way too much on Josh Allen to throw the football, but even aside of that fact, they were still so dominant on offense. If they can get a little bit more balanced, Josh Allen can still do his thing, lighten up the field. He's another guy that I think at this point has established himself as a guy in the league. And, the Bills, if they can get better at running the football and this pass rush really is improved, if they meet the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, possibility they win this time around, or the Browns, whoever ends up making it as the AFC team across from them if they get there. That's how I feel about the Bills. The Chiefs, what is there much to say about them? Offensive line was probably the biggest issue there. That and the grabby type of defense they had as far as the defensive backfield goes. The Browns retooled their offensive line. The unit looked really good, getting a lot of time in the preseason, a lot more than I think people would have expected. But having that chemistry going into week one, I think is going to be huge for them if this offensive line stays healthy. The Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl the last couple of years. No reason to believe they can't make it back for a third year in a row, potentially winning a second title with Pat Mahomes at the helm. I mean, there's no shortage of talent on either side of the football here. So that's all I really have to say about that. The biggest question mark, I think, for this team, aside from the offensive line, which I think has been answered, is again, the grabby style of play that the DBs were doing last year. They really shot themselves in the foot in the Super Bowl and in that later half of the season with a lot of DPI penalties, holding penalties. If that is resolved, this team should be good to go and ready to run it back for another shot at the Super Bowl. And then coming in at number one, not a whole lot to say about the Buccaneers. They've brought back everyone, which I think I've heard this repeated 1,000 times already this offseason. Everyone's in amazement that they were able to do so. The Brady effect is real. The dude has 7 championships for a reason. However, continuity is key in the NFL. This is something that no team has been able to do, winning a Super Bowl the following season. This is going to be big. I have a strong feeling that they are the team that represents the NFC in the Super Bowl come, whatever it is, February 20th, I think is the final day. I don't know, February something, way late in the year. Regardless, they've brought everyone back. There is no shortage of talent on either side of that football field. They should only get better. They have an entire offseason and a whole year in this system now as a group, and everyone's doing the same thing literally again. It's up to Bruce Arians and that coaching staff to scheme up some new stuff, keep other teams on their toes. They can't do the same exact thing last year, but overall, they had a recipe for success. They have not lost a game since week 12 against the Chiefs that they handily ended up whooping in the Super Bowl. If we're staring at another Buccaneers Super Bowl championship at the end of the season, I'm not going to be surprised. That's all I really got to say about that. And that is my power rankings for all 32 teams for week 1. Again, we'll be doing this every single week. I'll have it up. The idea is to have it up every single Tuesday for you guys. So if you have made it through the entire video, I appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Be cool about it. We're here to discuss. I'm not going to, go after anyone for their opinions on things, so I expect the same from you guys. But let me see what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, sub, all that good stuff. We'll be doing a game day preview on Thursday for the season opener, so I'll see you guys on Thursday. Catch y'all later. Have a good rest of your Labor Day weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.